Most men think attraction is about saying the right thing, but truth is, it's about feeling the right thing and having the quiet strength to express it. In this video, we're breaking down 10 powerful phrases you can say to a woman, not to impress her, but to connect with her on a deeper level. These are seconds of words that leave an impact when said with sincerity, self-awareness, and presence. So, if you're the kind of man who values depth over games and respect over tactics, you're in the right place. Don't forget to subscribe to Psychology Tips, where we share daily videos on masculine confidence, emotional intelligence, and subtle psychology in relationships. Number 1, you have a unique way about you. I like that. In a world full of predictable conversations and surface-level remarks, this one line quietly cuts through the noise. You have a unique way about you. I like that it's not flashy. It doesn't exaggerate. It's not trying to impress. And perhaps exactly why it works. Because at its heart, this line isn't about performance. It's about perception. It tells someone that who they are in their natural and unfiltered state has been noticed and appreciated. Let's explore why this statement resonates so deeply and why, when said genuinely, it can leave a lasting impact on the woman you're speaking to. 1. It honors her uniqueness without comparison. When you tell someone they have a unique way about them, you're not comparing them to anyone else. You're not saying they're better than others. You're simply noticing that something about them feels distinct. It might be how they carry themselves, the way they pause before they speak, the clarity in their voice, the calm in their presence. It's subtle, and that's the point. Why it matters. Many women are used to being compared, whether to cultural standards, social expectations, or to others in their own circles. This line breaks that pattern. It sees her as her own person, not in contrast to anyone else. 2. It encourages self-awareness and confidence. A statement like this often catches someone off the guard in a good way. Why? Because we don't always see our own strengths, especially the quiet ones. When you reflect something positive back to her, something she may not even realize about herself, you invite her to view herself through a new lens. It's not about flattery. It's about affirmation, the kind that helps a man grow more comfortable in their own skin. And that's powerful. 3. It creates a moment of stillness. This phrase doesn't rush. It doesn't crowd. It lands gently. In the middle of casual conversation, it can cause her to pause, not because she's flattered, but because she feels seen. It's like you've spotted something that most people overlook. It says, I'm not here for surface talk. I'm paying attention. And that moment of stillness can change the tone of your interaction in an instant, shifting it from small talk to subtle connection. 4. It's both compliment and curiosity. You have a unique way about you, leaves room for curiosity. It doesn't define her, it observes her. It leaves space for her to step into the conversation. She might smile. She might ask what you mean. She might become quieter, reflecting on whether she's ever been told that before. And when you say, I like that, you're not pushing further. You're just anchoring the moment. You're saying, whatever that quality is, I see it and I appreciate it. 5. It works across situations. You can say this at the end of a meaningful conversation after she makes an insightful point, when you're both sitting in silence and the atmosphere just feels right. After a moment when she handled something gracefully. It doesn't need to be tied to deep emotions or long-term intentions. It's a present tense observation, and that's what makes it timeless. 6. It's grounded in emotional maturity. You're not saying this to win approval. You're not fishing for a reaction. You're simply offering your perception calmly and without attachment. That takes emotional strength. You're showing that you notice things others overlook, can express your thoughts without over-explaining, are grounded in your own experience. That kind of maturity resonates. It builds respect. It also shows that you can throw words around lightly. When you speak, it's because you mean it. And when sincerity is present, the message becomes unforgettable. 7. It avoids objectification entirely. Unlike many surface-level compliments that reduce someone to their appearance, this statement avoids any physical focus. You're complimenting essence, energy, presence, way of being. These are lasting traits, the kind that age well, deepen over time, and are often overlooked in fast-moving, superficial conversions. It's a way of saying, I see the invisible things, the things that can't be faked. 8. It makes her feel safe and respected. Most people appreciate being seen for who they truly are, but few feel safe enough to let that side show. When you say this gently, without expectation, you create a space where she can exhale. She's not being judged. She's not being measured. She's being appreciated quietly and sincerely. And in that moment, trust begins to grow. 9. It reflects back something honest. If you say this phrase, don't say it because it sounds good. Say it because you actually felt something different in her presence, even if you can't fully define it. Women are extremely intuitive. If you say it just to creation effect, it won't land. But if you say it because something in her manner, or the way she moves through the world, truly felt different, then your tone, your eyes, your presence will carry the message more than the words themselves. And when sincerity is present, the message becomes unforgettable. 10. It strengthens your own awareness. There's a hidden benefit in speaking like this. You become more aware of what you value in others. As you notice subtleties like grace under pressure, quiet intelligence, warmth, or humility, you also begin to refine your own standards. You stop looking for loud signals. You start listening for quiet truths. And this kind of awareness changes the way you move through the world. You stop needing to prove yourself and start enjoying the richness of noticing others for who they are, not just how they look. Number 2. I like women who know what they want. Why thy statement holds deep respect and meaning. There's something quietly powerful about a woman who knows what she wants. It's not just a matter of decisiveness or ambition. It reflects self-awareness, emotional maturity, and a sense of direction that commands respect. When Simeon says, I like women who know what they want, they're not making a shallow or impulsive statement. They're acknowledging something far more valuable, a quality that goes beyond appearances or charm. Let's explore why this trait stands out and why it deserves sincere admiration. Number 1. Clarity of purpose reflects inner strength. When a woman knows what she wants in life, in relationships, in her values, it reflects a clarity that's been earned, not gifted. She spent time understanding herself, reflecting on what matters, and building a framework around her priorities. That kind of clarity isn't loud or boastful. It's grounded. It doesn't mean she always has the answers, but it means she's not lost in indecision or following the crowd. There's dignity in Simeon, who has done the work to know herself. Number 2, she's less likely to settle for what's inauthentic. Women who are sure of what they want don't chase trends, approval, or temporary validation. They don't settle for surface-level relationships or vague. This doesn't mean they are harsh or unyielding. Quite the opposite. They value honesty, alignment, and depth. And they're often more open to meaningful conversations about expectations, dreams, or limitations. And in a world full of mixed signals, that kind of straightforwardness is refreshing. Number 3, intentional living is magnetic. Intentional people, those who walk through life with purpose, tend to attract admiration. It's not about affection or rigid control, but about choosing with awareness. When a woman lives with intention, her energy shifts. The way she spends her time, the way she speaks, the way she interacts. All of it reflects someone who isn't simply reacting to life, but engaging with eaten purpose. There's beauty in someone who moves with direction, even if they're still growing. Number 4, confidence without arrogance is a rare balance. Confidence isn't about dominating a room. It's about showing up fully, quietly, calmly, and without needing to prove anything. When a woman knows what she wants, it often comes with this kind of she doesn't have to explain herself constantly or seek reassurance. She trusts her inner compass. That calm self-assurance, not arrogance, makes her presence deeply grounding. Number 5, her boundaries are clear, and that's a good thing. There's often a misconception that someone who knows what they want is difficult or too particular, but the truth is, clear boundaries are an act of maturity. A woman who knows what she wants understands what she will and won't tolerate, not to control others, but to protect her own peace and values. This clarity creates safety for herself and others. You don't have to guess where you stand or wonder what she's thinking. She communicates directly, often with kindness and respect. Number 6, she honors her time and yours. People who are intentional tend to value time, not just their own, but yours, too. A woman who knows what she wants is unlikely to waste your time with vague half-commitments or hidden expectations, whether it's in friendship, collaboration, or something more personal. Be straightforward. If she's invested, she shows up fully. If she's unsure, She communicates with honesty. This saves both people from confusion and builds a foundation of mutual respect. Number 7. She inspires you to be clearer with yourself. When you're around someone who lives with self-awareness, it often encourages you to reflect on your own direction. A woman who knows what she wants doesn't pressure others to match her, but her clarity can be contagious. You might find yourself stepping back and asking, what do I truly want? And that kind of reflection can lead to personal growth. Her strength doesn't compete with yours, it complements it. Number 8. She's not playing games, she's building something real. In a culture where ambiguity sometimes gets misunderstood for mystery or strategy, a woman who simply speaks her truth can feel like a breath of fresh air. She doesn't drop hints or wait to see who will chase her. She communicates clearly and expects the same in return. That doesn't mean she's motionless or cold, quite the opposite. She values meaningful connection over shallow attention. She wants to build, not just wander. Number 9. Emotional maturity sets the tone. Knowing what you want isn't just about career goals or relationship preferences, it's also about emotional responsibility. A mature woman knows how to regulate her emotions, take accountability for her reactions, and express her feelings in constructive ways. She doesn't expect others to read her mind, nor does she punish people for not fulfilling unspoken needs. This kind of maturity creates healthier, more balanced interactions. It opens space for honest connection, not perfection, but growth. Number 10. She's often been through enough to know her worth. Self-knowledge often comes through experience, not just good moments, but the hard ones too. A woman who knows what she wants has likely faced disappointment, learned hard lessons, and had to rebuild her self-respect more than once. And because of that, she's no longer swayed by superficial approval or fleeting interest. She knows her worth, not in a proud way, but in a grounded one. Number 3. That's what I like most about you. Why this simple phrase connects on a deeper level. When said sincerely, the phrase, that's what I like most about you, holds more weight than any long speech or compliment ever could. It is not flashy, it's not dramatic, but it's honest. And in a world full of superficial chatter, that kind of authenticity stands out. This article explores why this phrase, when used genuinely, resonates so deeply with people, especially women, and how it reflects emotional presence, maturity, and real connection. 1. It shows that you're paying attention. Anyone can give a compliment, but when you say, that's what I like most about you, and it's attached to something specific, a quality, a behavior, or a belief, it signals that you're not just seeing the surface, you're noticing the details that matter. Example, you really think before you speak, that's what I like most about you. You're telling her, I see you. And that's powerful. 2. It highlights one meaningful trait, not a list. Instead of rattling off multiple compliments that sound generic or rehearsed, this phrase selects one thing, one quality, one characteristic that truly stands out to you. Why does that matter? Because it makes the other person feel uniquely valued. You don't try to be the loudest in the room, but people always seem to listen when you speak. That's what I like most about you. This isn't about praise. It's about 3. It creates emotional safety without pressure. This phrase doesn't mend anything. It doesn't push for closeness or promise anything grand. Instead, it simply offers appreciation calmly, confidently, and without expectation. Women often appreciate compliments that feel safe, personal, and non-performative. This phrase does exactly that. It's about acknowledgement, not pursuit. It lets her relax into the moment. There's no pressure, just presence. 4. It's quietly vulnerable. Admitting what you admire about someone without exaggeration requires a certain kind of emotional honesty. You're not trying to sound impressive, you're being open. That takes courage, especially for men who aren't used to speaking from the heart. When you say it without rushing, without trying to sound clever, it creates space for something deeper to grow. Vulnerability doesn't mean sometimes it's just a sincere sentence delivered calmly. 5. It signals emotional maturity. Many people compliment based on appearance or achievements, but when you highlight something internal, such as consistency, empathy, curiosity, or integrity, you're showing that your values run deeper. The way you always stay calm in stressful moments. That's what I like most about you. Statements like this are a reflection of who you are, not just what you think of her. That's the mark of emotional maturity. 6. It builds trust over time. Trust isn't built with grand gestures. It's built with small, sincere moments. And one of the most disarming things you can do is let someone know what you appreciate about their character in a way that feels real. When a woman feels that, your compliment isn't about trying to win her over, but simply about sharing how you see her, it strengthens quiet trust. These words are like a gentle mirror. They reflect back her strengths in a way she might not always hear from others. 8. It encourages her to be more of her true self. When you specifically acknowledge something admirable about her values, mindset, or presence, it reinforces that part of her. It says that version of you is seen and appreciated. You always make people feel included, even when they're quiet. That's what I like most about you. That kind of recognition encourages people to continue leaning into the best parts of who they are. 9. It doesn't try to impress, and that's impressive. The beauty of this phrase is that it's not designed to impress, and ironically, that's what makes it so compelling. It isn't about using clever lines or exaggerated language. It's about offering a quiet truth that comes from hypnotizing someone deeply. Most women can tell when a compliment is scripted or shallow, but they also know when it's heartfelt. And this phrase, when used sincerely, never needs embellishment. 10. It creates a memorable moment. Because this phrase is so grounded, it stands out in a world full of surface-level flattery. People remember the moments when someone looked them in the eye and said something real, especially when that realness is not romantic pressure, but honest appreciation. That's what I like most about you. Just those 7 words paired with meaning can linger long after the conversation's. Number 4. I don't know if you can handle me. What it really means, and it sticks with you. On the surface, the phrase, I don't know if you can handle me, might sound like a challenge, but when it's said with a smile, in the middle of a deeper conversation, or when someone is opening up their personality a little more, it means much more than just teasing. It's not arrogance, it's not flirtation, it's often a subtle signal of complexity, depth, or self-awareness, and it invites a moment of quiet recognition. Let's break down the reasons why this statement resonates, and why it can be meaningful, memorable, and even a little bit inspiring, all without crossing any inappropriate boundaries. 1. It signals emotional depth. When someone says, I don't know if you can handle me, they are often referring to the richness of their inner world. They may have lived through hardships, faced intense emotions, or developed a level of depth that they know not everyone is ready for. It's a quiet warning. I'm not shallow, and I won't pretend to be. This isn't about being difficult for the sake of it. It's about having layers. It's about being someone who feels deeply, who thinks carefully, and who lives intentionally, and they want to know if the person they're talking to has the emotional maturity to handle that kind of honesty. 2. It reflects self-awareness. To say, I don't know if you can handle me, is not the same as saying, I'm better than you. Rather, it often comes from a place of self-awareness. The speaker is saying, I know myself well enough to recognize that I'm not always easy. I have strong opinions. I have ascertained way of thinking, and not everyone is ready for that. That kind of self-standing can be admirable. It shows that the person has spent time reflecting on who they are, not just how they appear. They're not trying to impress. They're simply offering the truth. 3. It's a test of compatibility, not control. Some people misinterpret this phrase as controlling or manipulative, but in its truest, most respectful form, it's the opposite. It's about compatibility. It's a way of saying, I know what kind of energy I bring into a relationship, a conversation, or a friendship. Do we align? It's not a trap. It's an invitation. To be honest, the person isn't trying to intimidate you. They're trying to see if you're someone who can meet them where they are rather than where they pretend to be. 4. It's a quiet reminder of goods. This statement often comes from people who are not looking for surface-level attention. They're not seeking validation. They're seeking connection. And connection requires more than flattery or charm. It requires presence, attentiveness, and effort. So when someone says, I don't know if you can handle me, they may be gently reminding you that they hold themselves to a standard and they expect others to do the same. It's not ego, it's 5. It suggests a strong personality, not aggression. Some people carry a quiet intensity. They are passionate about their interests. They care deeply about the things that matter to them. They speak up when something isn't right and they're not afraid to disagree when needed. This kind of personality isn't aggressive. It's grounded. When such a person says, I don't know if you can handle me, they're not being confrontational. They're being honest about their strength. Not everyone is used to strength that doesn't come with volume. Some people mistake quiet conviction for rebellion, but it's not the same. 6. It reflects lived experience. People who have been through difficult life experiences, personal loss, career struggles, family dynamics, self-growth of fun, carry a certain kind of gravity. They've had to become emotionally resilient. They've had to carry themselves through moments when no one else was there. When they say, I don't know if you can handle me, what they may mean is, I've lived, and I don't want to be with someone who only understands ease and not challenge. You need someone who can sit with complexity, not run from it. 7. It's a signal of personal boundaries. Sometimes this statement is a soft way of saying, I know my limits and I need someone who respects them. It's not about being difficult. It's about recognizing what one needs in a conversation, relationship, or friendship. They're not going to shrink themselves to make others more comfortable. And that takes strength. It's not about attitude. It's about agency. 8. It can reveal a playful challenge. There's also a lighter side to this phrase. Sometimes it's said, with a grin, in a light-hearted moment, but even then, it carries meaning. It might be a playful way of saying, I'm quirky, I'm passionate, I do things a bit. Are you flexible enough to meet me in that? Playfulness doesn't mean insincerity. In fact, humor can be one of the most honest ways someone reveals their truth. If you're paying attention, the line, I don't know if you can handle me, is a mix of a smile and a shield. It tests your willingness to accept people as they really are, not just as they appear. 9. It can be a protective layer. People who say this may have been misunderstood in the past. Maybe someone tried to change them. Maybe some personality is too much or too intense. So now they say this phrase, not to push you away, but to protect their core self. It's a quiet way of saying, I've learned that not everyone is ready for the real me. Please don't try to reshape what you don't yet understand. 10. It's ultimately about invitation, not exclusion. Despite how it sounds, the phrase, I don't know if you can handle me, is not meant to shut the door. It's meant to see who will walk through it with awareness. It's an invitation it's a call to step into a connection that isn't superficial. It's not about proving anything. It's about showing up honestly. It asks, can you stay present with someone who brings depth, who brings intensity, who brings their full self to the table? Number 5, I'm not that easy. What this phrase really means and why it matters to women. At first glance, the phrase, I'm not that easy, might sound like a witty comeback or a playful tease, but when spoken with calm confidence and clear intention, it becomes something much more powerful, a quiet declaration of self-respect, discernment, and personal depth. This isn't about being emotionally unavailable or playing games. It's about a man showing that he values connection, honesty, and depth more than flattery, convenience, or approval. Let's explore the real meaning behind this statement, and why it often earns a woman's attention and respect more than smooth compliments ever could. 1. It signals self-worth. When a man says, I'm not that easy, he's indirectly saying, I know who I am, and not everyone gets immediate access to that. He's not trying to impress. He's not seeking validation. He's setting a tone, one where connection must be earned through authenticity, not charm or surface-level interaction. Women naturally respond to men who know their value without needing to advertise it. This phrase conveys that with it arrogance too. It establishes emotional boundaries. Boundaries are not walls, they're frameworks that protect what's meaningful. By saying, I'm not that easy, you're letting someone know you didn't rush into emotional territory without clarity or intent. It shows you are not swayed by momentary attention. You observe, you take your time, and you choose who to open up to intentionally. Why this matters. Many women admire a man who knows how to protect his emotional space, especially in a world where people often overshare or give too much too fastly. It reflects emotional maturity. Immature connection seeks speed. Mature connection seeks depth. When a man says, I'm not that easy, he's not avoiding connection. He's elevating it. He's saying, I don't just connect with anyone. If I open up, it's because I see something real in you. This communicates emotion, maturity, a quality that builds real interest and trust. 4. It builds quiet tension, the good kind. When delivered calmly, this statement introduces a subtle kind of tension, not of drama, but of curiosity. You're essentially saying, there's more to me than you see right now. This can make a woman pause and listen more deeply. It hints that you're not reactive, not eager to be liked, and not moved by shallow interactions. That mystery makes you memorable. 5. It disrupts the expected pattern. In many conversations, especially early ones, there's often a rhythm where one person seeks approval and the other holds the frame. Saying, I'm not, the teasy shifts that rhythm. Suddenly, you're not seeking anything. You're responding with light confidence. You reign, no rush. This creates a subtle power dynamic, not dominance, but mutual clarity. It says, I'm here, I'm listening, but I'm not going to give myself away just because I'm being noticed. 6. It encourages mutual respect. Real relationships, even simple conversations, are built on respect. When you express that you're not easily inviting the other person to meet you at that level, it's not about pushing them away, it's about raising the standard. Respect begins where self-respect is visible. By being selective, you encourage thoughtful dialogue rather than performance. 7. It highlights your inner stability. A man who says, I'm not that easy, and truly means it is grounded. He doesn't need to please to feel secure. He doesn't panic in silence or overcompensate with humor. This kind of man is steady, present, not shaken by appearances or surface-level interest, and that kind of energy is rare and calming. It's not what you say, it's how styled you are when you say it. 8. It protects you from being taken for. Too often, people rush into closeness only to feel later that they were misunderstood, overlooked, or undervalued. By setting a tone early, that depth takes time, that trust must be earned. You avoid those emotional pitfalls, you build slowly, and you build wisely. Saying, I'm not that easy, is another way of saying, I value peace more than attention. 9. It filters out the wrong kind of attention. This phrase isn't for everyone, and that's the point. When spoken, it gently filters out those who are only looking for surface-level interaction. It creates space for those who appreciate depth, patience, and presence. It also invites a woman to slow down and ask herself, who is this man who values himself this much? That's how interest becomes layered. 10. It honors the long game in life and in relationships. Rushing rarely leads to anything meaningful. Taking your time, valuing yourself, and being clear that you're not easily swayed, shows that you play the long game. This phrase, when used sincerely, communicates exactly that. It says, I didn't need to force anything. What's real, I'll recognize, and when I choose it, I'll be because it feels right. That quiet patience often speaks louder than any bold claim. Number 6. You're not like most women, and that is dangerous. When someone says, you're not like most women, and that's dangerous, they're not necessarily talking about rebellion or recklessness. In fact, the danger here isn't harmful at all. It's transformative. It speaks to a woman's depth, her rare qualities, and the subtle way she challenges others simply by being authentically herself. This kind of woman doesn't follow the script. She doesn't seek attention through noise, but rather through her commanding presence. She's dangerous in the way that truth can be dangerous, because it shifts something in you. Here's what makes a woman like this stand out, and why she leaves such a lasting impression. 1. She doesn't need to impress anyone. Most people, men, women, spend a lot of time trying to be liked. They adjust themselves, soften edges, and sometimes exaggerate parts of who they are to fit in or stand out. But this woman doesn't operate from that space. She's not rude or dismissive. She's just real. She speaks with quiet certainty. She doesn't over-explain herself or seek validation through compliments or approval. That kind of confidence makes people pause. It causes them to reassess their own behavior. It's powerful, and yes, it's a little bit dangerous because it shakes the ground others are used to standing on. 2. She sees through facades. She's observant, not in a nosy way, but in a deeply perceptive way. You can't wear a mask around her for long. She notices when people are pretending, when words don't match energy, and when something unsaid lingers in the air. That kind of awareness can be intimidating for those who aren't ready to be seen clearly. It's not that she's trying to expose anyone, it's that her presence invites truth. If you're hiding from your own feelings, she senses it. And that alone can make her dangerous to dishonesty, inauthenticity, and all the mechanisms we build around our insecurities. 3. She's emotionally honest. She doesn't play emotional games. She won't say things she doesn't mean just to protect someone's ego. and she won't pretend to feel something she doesn't. This emotional honesty creates a very rare environment, one where communication is clean, expectations are clear, and respect runs deep. But it can also be jarring for someone who's used to mixed signals or emotional guesswork. To be emotionally honest without buying harsh takes maturity. To sit with someone's discomfort without trying to fix it or twist it is rare. That's the kind of emotional danger that inspires real growth. 4. She doesn't fit into a box. People like to label and categorize others. It makes interactions predictable, but this woman resists definition. She might be quiet in a group, but sharp and witty. 1-on-1. She might be warm and nurturing, but also fiercely independent. She doesn't move in patterns others expect. That unpredictability doesn't come from trying to be different. It comes from being deeply in touch with who she isn't, refusing to shrink to fit someone else's narrative. When someone challenges stereotypes, simply by existing authentically, they create discomfort for those who rely on surface assumptions, but they also open the door for richer understanding. 5. She's calm in chaos. While others react emotionally, this woman remains grounded. She doesn't panic easily, and when challenges arise, she leans into patience, observation, and clarity. This calm demeanor doesn't come from apathy. It comes from inner discipline, and that inner stability can be disarming to those who are used to emotional volatility. In tense situations, her calm becomes a mirror. It reveals where others are reactive, impulsive, or immune. That's the danger of being composed. It reveals who isn't. 6. She has standards, not walls. She's kind, but not easily manipulated. She listens, but she won't absorb emotional chaos. She gives, but she doesn't overextend hers to feel valuable. This balance between compassion and self-respect is rare and unsettling to those who expect either full submission or complete emotional detachment. She's neither. She's strong enough to care, but wise enough to know when to step back, and that boundary, that standard creates a sense of clarity that many aren't ready for. It can feel like a challenge, but it's actually an invitation to meet her on solid ground, or not at all. 7. She thinks before she speaks. In a world of instant opinions, rapid-fire organs, and social media soundbites, someone who pauses before she responds is unusual. Her words are thoughtful. When she speaks, people listen, not because she demands attention, but because her insights come from reflection, not reaction. This kind of communication builds trust. It also creates quiet authority. She doesn't compete in conversations. She contributes with purpose, and that, again, is its own form of danger, because it renders shallow talk ineffective, and cause others to rise to a more meaningful level. 8. She's comfortable with silence. Silence makes most people nervous. They fill the air with chatter to avoid discomfort. But not her. She's at home in stillness. Whether it's sitting quietly with someone or just spending time alone, she doesn't need constant noise to feel alive. This comfort with silence is disarming because it asks, can you just be here fully, without needing to prove, impress, or distract? Her silence isn't cold, it's powerful. And for those who are used to chaos or attention-seeking, that stillness can feel unsettling, but it's also deeply healing. 9. She moves through life intentionally. She doesn't rush, but she isn't passive. Every decision she makes, from the people she surrounds herself with, to the projects she takes on, comes from a place of alignment. She doesn't drift through life on autopilot. She reflects. She listens to herself. She pays attention to what drains her and what fuels her, and she adjusts accordingly. That kind of intentional living can make others confront their own distractions, habits, or patterns. It's inspiring, but it also challenges those who haven't yet stepped into that level of self-awareness. 10. She's a mirror. Ultimately, what makes her dangerous is not that she's trying to disrupt anything, but that she reflects back the truth of others around her. People feel more seen, and that can be either comforting or confronting depending on how comfortable they are with themselves. She holds a mirror simply by being who she is, and in that mirror, others see their own clarity, confusion, strength, or avoidance. Number 7. You're making it hard to stay focused. Why? The sample line holds deep power without crossing any boundaries. Some phrases carry more than just words. They reflect presence, awareness, and a moment of shared energy. One such phrase is, "You're making it hard to stay focused." At first glance, it might sound playful or lighthearted, but beneath the surface, it holds a quiet depth, a moment of emotional truth that can create a meaningful connection when said with sincerity. In this article, we'll explore exactly why this line works, how to use it respectfully, and what it really says about you and her when spoken at the right moment. 1. It's a moment of honest distraction, not manipulation. When you say you're making it hard to stay focused, you're not trying to manipulate or flirt for attention. You're simply acknowledging something real. Her presence is pulling your attention, and you're being honest about it. Maybe you're in a serious conversation, trying to concentrate on something else, or even discussing something thoughtful, and yet her energy, words, or presence keeps gently drawing you in. Naming that reality calmly and without pressure grounds genuine awareness. It's not about flattery, it's about being human, admitting that sometimes someone else's energy shifts your internal focus. 2. It shows you're present and affected but not overwhelmed. Many people, especially women, can sense when someone is emotionally distant or simply going through the motions. But when a man calmly admits you're making it hard to stay focused, it signals the opposite. You're here mentally, you're engaged, you're not pretending to be unaffected. At the same time, you're not losing control. You're simply stating that her presence matters, and you're owning that without being dramatic. This subtle balance between attentiveness and emotional regulation makes the line feel grounded, not needy. 3. It signals that you're genuinely listening to her. Ironically, this phrase only works when you are focused, when you're truly paying attention to her thoughts, voice, or way of being. You're not distracted by superficial things. You're tuned in. When you say you're making it hard to stay focused, it's not because you're zoning out. It's the opposite. You're so aware of the moment, of her ideas, her presence, her way of speaking, that it temporarily blurs everything else. This shows that her being is influencing your attention, and that's a quiet form of connection many women deeply value. 4. It expresses a subtle mutual energy shift. Whether it's a deep conversation or a lighter exchange, there are moments when energy shifts between two people. Something unspoken bems felt. By saying you're making it hard to stay focused, you're gently naming the shift. The moment where something in the air feels more alive, more personal, more present. You're not rushing it. You're not labeling it. You're simply acknowledging that something shifted and you noticed. This creates mutual awareness without pressure, without expectations. 5. It honors her presence without reducing her to appearance. Too often, compliments are focused on physical attributes. This phrase is different. It doesn't talk about how she looks, it talks about how she makes you feel in the moment. You're communicating that her presence, her energy, or her focus is moving something inside you that can't be faked, and it's not superficial level. It's the kind of recognition that feels personal. Andrea, you're not reducing her to a role. You're reflecting how her presence has adequate gravity to it, and that you respect that. 6. It builds connection without crossing boundaries. When used properly, this line never feels invasive or too forward. That's because it's spoken from your own experience, not as a judgment or expectation on her. You're saying something about your presence is affecting my ability to stay in my head. I didn't expect that. This makes the moment about you and your experience, not about putting her on the spot. It's a respectful, emotionally aware way to deepen connection without forcing intimacy. 7. It reveals that you're not in a hurry, but you're fully awake. One of the most attractive qualities in a person is the ability to be still, to be fully awake in the moment, without rushing to label, fix, or impress. When you say you're making it hard to stay focused, it's as if you're saying, I was on autopilot, but now I'm not. That level of present noticing is powerful because it's rare. It says you're tuned in, alive, and awake to the moment, not distracted, but engaged. You're not trying to speed up a connection. You're letting it unfold naturally and honoring how it feels right now. 8. It creates a alpos, a moment she might remember. Sometimes a few well-placed words change your energy in the room. They don't need to be dramatic. They just need to be real. This phrase, when delivered calmly and sincerely, creates a gentle pause. It says, you've impacted me in this moment. I wasn't expecting this kind of focus to be challenged. There's something real happening here. Even if the conversation moves on, the emotional imprint often stays. Women remember how you made them feel. A line like this delivered with grace and clarity often lingers, not because it was loud but because it was true. 9. It's a mirror without needing a response. Another reason this phrase is so effective is that it doesn't demand anything in return. You're not asking for her to react, reciprocate, or explain anything. You're simply offering a mirror, a reflection of what's happening in you. That kind of emotional honesty often encourages the other person to relax and feel safer. It's not a trap or test. It's just a window into our mind and your calm self-awareness. In a world full of noise, that kind of sincerity is rare. 10. It's subtle, strong, and soft all at once. The best communication is layered. And this phrase, when said with the right tone, carries a mixture of softness. You're innate pressuring her. Strength, you're clear about your experience, and subtlety. You're not making it a big deal, but it still matters. These layers make the phrase resonate beyond the moment. It shows emotional intelligence, restraint, and presence. All qualities that deepen respect and connection over time. Number 8. Usually don't open up this fast. What it really means when Semyon says, I usually don't open up this fast. It may seem like a passing comment, but in truth, it reveals something deeper. It's a subtle yet powerful acknowledgement that you've created a space where they feel safe, respected, and seen. It's not about manipulation or charm. It's about connection. Let's explore the reasons behind this statement and what it quietly says about both the person speaking it and the one they're speaking to. 1. You've created emotional safety. Most people don't share their deeper thoughts and emotions with just anyone. They wait to see whether the space is safe emotionally, mentally, and conversationally. When someone opens up quickly, it means you've given off a sense of emotional reality. You weren't judging, you weren't rushing, you listened, and you held space. This kind of emotional safety is rare and deeply valued. 2. You're present, not performative. People often keep their guard up around those who seem to be performing for attention. But when someone feels you're genuinely present, focused, and not trying to impress, they begin to let go of their defenses. They sense that, not thinking about what to say next or how you appear, but rather you're with them in the moment. This presence creates trust, and with trust comes openness. 3. You gave them permission to be real. Some people have never had the opportunity to express what they really feel. They've learned to mask vulnerability because past attempts were minimized or misunderstood. But when you respond with kindness, without trying to fix or analyze, you give them the unspoken message. You can be real here. That's a quiet gift, and it can make someone say, I don't usually do this, but I feel like I can with you. 4. You didn't rush to filthy silence. Silence is uncomfortable for many, but not for those who understand its purpose. You allowed the conversation to breathe. You didn't rush to fill gaps or steer the conversation away from depth. That pause gave them room to find their words and to realize that they were being heard without interruption or pressure. That kind of patience signals depth, and people respond by sharing what they wouldn't normally share. 5. You didn't judge their pace or their path. When someone says, I usually don't open up this fast, it often carries a quiet history of being misunderstood or dismissed. But in your presence, they didn't feel watched. They felt understood. You weren't demanding backstory or explanations. You simply let them alleviate their own comfort level. They chose to open up not because they were pushed but because you allowed the space to happen naturally. 6. You asked the right kind of Not all questions are equal. You didn't ask for drama. You didn't pry. Instead, you asked questions that were gently reflective, like what's something you've learned lately, or how did that make you feel? These are questions that nudge gently. With a pressure, they invite rather than interrogate. And people open up when they feel invited, not inspected. 7. Your demeanor was grounded and calm. You weren't erratic. You weren't trying to impress. You weren't aversioning or competing for emotional space. Your groundedness had a common effect, and people are naturally drawn to that. When someone is anchored, others feel safe enough to open their sails. Sometimes it's not what you say, but how you are that makes all the difference. 8. You offered warmth without a falucci. You weren't invasive. You weren't overly familiar, but you were warm. You showed interest. You noticed the little things. Your warmth wasn't performative. It was sincere, and it didn't cross boundaries. That balance made it easy to trust you. Many people keep emotional doors shut because others try to push their way in. But your gentle kindness was like a gentle knock, and they chose to open it. 9. You didn't make their vulnerability about you. Often people hesitate to share because they fear the listener will turn the focus on to themselves. Like that happened to me too, or here's what I did. But you didn't do that. You held their story without trying to insert your own. That's rare. And it made them feel that their experience mattered even without comparison. 10. They felt familiar in an unexplainable way. Sometimes it's not about anything you said or did, it's a felt sense, a quiet recognition, a familiarity that defies logic. They felt like they knew you. Maybe your energy mirrored someone they once trusted. Or maybe it was just that you were being authentically yourself. When someone feels safe, familiar, and seen all at once, opening up becomes instinctive, even if they usually don't. What it reveals about you. If someone tells you, I don't usually open up this fast, they're not just talking about themselves, they're indirectly describing you. You're trustworthy, you're emotionally grounded, you know how to hold space, you listen with your full presence, you didn't make them feel seen without putting them under a spotlight, you didn't force anything, you didn't need to, you just were, and that was enough. Number 9. There's in your energy I haven't felt in a long time. Why this simple phrase means so much. The power of presence, resonance, and honest connection. Not all feelings can be explained. Sometimes when we meet someone, it's not just what they say or do. It's how they make us feel in their presence. It's the energy they carry. Calm, grounded, warm, or quietly vibrant. And every once in a while, that energy feels familiar, but also rare. It touches something within us that we didn't realize we were missing. When a man says to a woman, there's something in your energy I haven't felt in a long time, it's not about charm or flattery. It's about recognizing same, unspoken, yet deeply felt. This phrase, when said with sincerity, can open up emotional space between two people. Not because it's clever, but because it acknowledges something deeper than appearances. Let's explore what this phrase really means, why it works, and how it reflects a meaningful kind of connection, all without crossing into romantic cliches or shallow compliments. 1. It recognizes emotional depth without objectifying. When you say something about a woman's energy, you're not commenting on her appearance, her status, or her actions. You're recognizing something beneath all that. Her presence, the way she carries herself, the way her words and silences both leave an impression. This kind of recognition doesn't objectify. It honors. It tells her, I'm not just looking at you, I'm sensing you. And that difference is everything. Most women are used to being noticed for surface-level things. Few are truly seen for the presence they bring into a space. When you notice her energy, not in a mystical or dramatic way, but simply as a human response, it lands differently. 2. It creates a bridge between experience and emotion. This phrase often comes out when you're surprised, not in a shocking way, but in a gentle, almost nostalgic way. It might be her calm demeanor that reminds you of Samoan wise, or her enthusiasm that echoes someone you once admired, or perhaps it's simply the way she listens fully without distraction, and it grounds you. When you say there's something in your energy I haven't felt in a long time, you're connecting the present to something meaningful from the past. You're not saying you remind me of someone that could be taken as comparison. Instead, you're saying, this feeling you're giving me, this resonance, it's rare, and I didn't expect it. It's honest, it's reflective, and it often leads her to open up too, not because she feels pressured, but because she feels understood on a level that's rarely spoken aloud. 3. It shows that you're paying attention to the intangible. A woman knows when you're tuned in to more than just what's on the surface. She can tell when your attention isn't not scattered, not performative, but present. When you talk about someone's energy, you're referring to their overall presence, the feeling they bring into a conversation, the stillness or brightness they carry, the emotional tone they radiate without trying. These things aren't loud, they're subtle. So, when you speak about them, it shows you're tuned in to more than just noise or movement. You're attuned to atmosphere, to emotion, to quiet depth. And that attention, especially from a man who is grounded, is often rare and meaningful. For it reveals that you're in touch with your own inner state. Most men aren't taught to articulate how they feel in another person's presence, especially when it's subtle, emotional, or unexpected. But this phrase does exactly that. It doesn't just reflect their energy, it reflects how her energy affects you. It's a quiet way of saying you're impacting me, and not in a way I planned or controlled. I feel it, and I'm not hiding it. There's no bravado in that. There's no strategy. There's just truth calmly spoken. And in a world full of scripted conversations, and superficial reactions. That kind of emotional honesty is powerful. 5. It creates emotional curiosity without pressure. You're not asking her to explain herself. You're not cornering her with intense statements. You're simply sharing an observation about how she feels to be around. And that opens a door gently. She may respond with, "What do you mean by that?" Or "That's an uninteresting thing to say." Or, "No one's ever said that to me." And suddenly, you're not in a small talk loop anymore. You're in an emotionally open space, not romantic, not flirty, just real. That's where mutual respect grows, where both people feel they're being met at a deeper level. 6. It honors rarity. And this isn't a phrase you can use all the time, nor should you. It only makes sense when the moment calls for it, when something about her energy genuinely stirs something in you. That rarity is what gives the words weight. When you say you haven't felt this in a long time, you're not saying she's better than others. You're saying this feeling is rare and I notice it. That distinction matters. It's not about elevating her onto a pedestal. It's about being honest about your internal experience. That honesty is grounding for both people involved. 7. Number 10. I wasn't planning to feel this way tonight. 7 subtle reasons behind this powerful statement. There's a quiet honesty in the phrase, "I wasn't planning to feel this way tonight." It's not a loud declaration. It's not a line rehearsed in front of a mirror. It usually slips out when someone's heart has been surprised to not be a grand gesture, but by something real, unexpected, and meaningful. This statement isn't about instant attraction or fleeting emotion. It's about connection, the kind that creeps slowly and softly, often catching us off guard. Here are the deeper reasons someone might say this and why it holds such emotional weight. 1. They felt seen, really seen. Sometimes all it takes is being truly listened to, not judged, not analyzed, just seen. When someone makes us feel visible in a world that often overlooks us, it touches a very human part of us. We weren't planning to open up, but the presence of someone who listens without an agenda allows that wall to quietly drop. And suddenly, we feel more than we expected. 2. There was unexpected emotional safety. Emotional safety is rare, and people know it when they feel it. Maybe the plan was to keep things surface level, to stay lighthearted, but when Simone offers a space where we don't have to pretend, we start to breathe differently. Our shoulders drop, West Peak without filters. That's when feelings sneak in, not because we were looking for them, but because we finally felt safe enough to have them. 3. A moment felt unusually genuine. We live in a world of distractions, noise, and curated impressions. So, when a moment happens that feels real, even if it's small, it can shift something inside us. Maybe it was the way they asked a meaningful question. Maybe it was the quiet kindness in their tone, or the fact that they remembered something we said weeks ago. Realness invites feeling even when we weren't expecting to feel. 4. They let their guard down without noticing. Most of us carry invisible armor, especially when we meet someone new, or walk into a social space, but sometimes without even realizing it, we begin to relax. The armor slips. Maybe it's because the other person wasn't trying too hard. Maybe it's because they weren't performing. They were simply themselves. And in their calm, we found permission to just be. And with that quiet permission, the heart stirs. 5. The conversation went deeper than expected. We often enter interactions small talk, but occasionally a conversation takes a turn. It becomes meaningful and we go with it. We start talking about things that actually matter. Fears, dreams, regrets, hopes. And in that space, feelings begin to grow. Not necessarily romantic, but connective, human. And we realize I wasn't planning to go here tonight, but no, I'm here. 6. There was a quiet kindness that stood out. There is a type of kindness that doesn't call attention to itself. It doesn't flatter, doesn't try to impress. It's just there in small gestures, gentle words, and thoughtful silence. When someone consistently acts us with quiet dignity, even in the smallest ways, it disarms us. It reminds us what respect and emotional presence feel like. And suddenly, the evening feels different than we thought it would. 7. They recognized something familiar or something they didn't realize they were looking for. Sometimes feelings arise not because something was new, but because something felt strangely familiar. A look, a law, a way of speaking. It reminds us of something we can't quite name. Or perhaps the connection offers something we didn't even realize we were missing. Calm, understanding, warmth. That subtle recognition, lights something within us, and suddenly we say the words, "I wasn't planning to feel this way tonight."